Virus 13, Chapter 9. The Gene Firm neighborhood was only a couple hundred yards away from the hospital. James was feeling much better, so he wanted to walk home, much to Linda's discomfort. "You should have let them drive us home." "I'm fine, Linda. I'm feeling like $1,000,000. You're making me nervous." From the moment they had escaped the hot sunlight, thanks to the shadow of the glass pyramid behind them, James looked up at the Hawking Triangle. The sight of the pyramid brought back a flood of memories. It was hard to believe that he had spent almost his entire life living under the shadow of this thing. "Do you remember how big the pyramid used to look when we were kids?" "Aw, is your near-death experience making you a bit nostalgic?" She laughed but caught herself. "I'm sorry. Probably too soon to joke about it, huh?" James nodded with a smile. "Too soon. Sorry, hon, but I know what you mean. It seemed like it went up for miles when we were younger." James wrapped an arm around Linda. "I remember in high school when we swore we would never come back to this place. 17 years was enough. Now look at us." "Well, we really couldn't turn down Dr. Westman's offer, could we? Paying off our student loans, cheap housing and jobs at Gene Firm, away from all the pollution and violence of the cities. I say we're blessed." My first trainer told me aside, I say, "Yes, we are. There is no escaping this place, huh? 3 generations of Logans have worked here. Same with your family." Linda smiled. "This place is a lifeboat of civilization. The best and brightest living in peace here in the forest. Why would we ever want to leave?" James kissed her cheek. "I agree, but that's a bit dramatic, don't you think? The world isn't that bad out there." "Debatable." Once they were across the field, they turned onto the first street they came to. It was normal looking enough, and that was purely by design. It gave its residents the perception of suburban normality. But even the street signs had names that would make a molecular biologist blush. Names like RNA Circle, Ptolemy's Run, and Gap Junction. James and Linda grew up several streets down from where they currently lived. Sometimes James felt like he had just crash-landed in the past, always hesitant that he would turn a corner and come face to face with his childhood self. They turned into Hallocates Lane and their house came into view. Their 2 children, Augustus and Olivia, were on the front lawn playing frisbee with an older woman dressed in flower-patterned pants, a tie-dye shirt, and a wide-brimmed floppy gardening hat. James chuckled at the sight of her. "Wow, look at Aunt Rose. Give her a break, she's just eccentric." Eccentric is a very nice word for someone who should be on medication. Linda tried not to laugh. The kids looked like 2 little clones of their mother. Augustus was 9 years old and Olivia was 7. Both had straight black hair and olive skin. It seemed their mother's Asian genes had completely crushed whatever genetic contribution James had to offer them. Wherever his genes were in his kids, they sure as hell weren't showing themselves on the surface. If he really did have cancer, which he still refused to believe, would his children inherit his vulnerability? He knew that was impossible. His kids had the cancer-resistant genes just like he did. He tried to push the irrational fear out of his mind, but he couldn't help but feel anxious. The kids saw their parents coming down the sidewalk. Their forgotten frisbee crashed harmlessly into the grass as the kids ran over, screaming in excitement. "August and Olive, I missed you 2 so much," said James as he scooped up Olivia in his arms. "James, be careful, don't overexert yourself," Linda cried. Both kids were now staring at James' bandages. "What's wrong with your head, Daddy?" asked a concerned Olivia. "My head is fine, Olive. I just got a very, very bad haircut." Linda wrinkled her nose. "Have you 2 been intentionally rolling around in the grass?" she said, changing the subject. James stuck his nose in Olivia's hair and made a face. "Whew, you stink. I think it's time to run upstairs and get you cleaned up." Olivia giggled. "I don't stink. You stink." James sat her down, and the 2 kids took off sprinting toward the front door, jockeying for who would get the first shower. Linda shook her head in amazement as her kids ran frantically into the house. Little Olivia screeched a high-pitched squeal the whole way. Linda turned to the older woman. "Thank you so much for watching the kids, Aunt Rose." Aunt Rose was James' aunt, also a researcher at Jane firm. "No problem, you two." Rose looked at James fearfully. "Is it true they say it was cancer?" "News travels fast around here," said James. Rose swept forward and swept James up in a big hug, glancing nervously at Linda. The hug was becoming awkwardly long. Before she let go, she leaned in close to James, whispering into his ear, "I knew this day would come. I hoped it wouldn't, but it did." Without James noticing, she slipped something small into his shirt pocket. "Listen, Aunt Rose, it's not cancer, Dr. Parody says." "Oh, Dr. Parody," she yelled. "Of course he knows everything." Linda stepped in to rescue James from Rose's madness. "Anyways, Rose, thank you for watching the kids on such short notice. We owe you. We appreciate it, we really do." "It was my pleasure. I love your children. Sweetest kids on the block. Not the sweetest ones in the neighborhood, but on this block for sure. They have very good inner light, very pure," she said, lifting the brim of her hat and staring intently at Linda. James couldn't help but roll his eyes. "Well, thanks again, Rose. Have a great night." James tried to wrap up the conversation and led his relative off the front lawn. Rose wouldn't be sent away that easily. She turned back to Linda. "So I assume you've heard about the viral outbreak?" "What outbreak?" James was now interested in hearing what the woman had to say. "Another biological terror attack, they say. Homeland Healthcare is already restricting flights and setting up quarantines. Hundreds of people are infected. I would suggest that you don't let your kids go to school anymore. It's no longer safe." "Aunt Rose, please, I'm sure it's not that bad." Rose leaned towards James and whispered, "Trust no one." Then she stepped back and said loudly, "Good day to you both, and let's hope the great magnet has mercy on your souls." With that, Rose slowly backed up, turned, and speed walked down the street, suspiciously looking behind her with every other step. Linda had a puzzled look on her face. "I'm a bit worried for her. That might be the last time we ask her to watch the kids, I think. Listen, babe, she's harmless. I think watching our kids is good for her, gets her out of her house. I mean, the woman lost her husband and her daughter, plus her son ran off. She must be insufferably lonely. That would make anyone go crazy." Linda sighed as she watched Aunt Rose walk away.